Hey guys, welcome back to the Candid Thoughts Podcast. This is your host, Isabelo Pascual. And today's golden nugget, good luck. How many of you guys heard the term good luck before? Yeah. If it comes from a sincere place, then good luck is, it's a positive affirmation. But you can also hear the term good luck said sarcastically, by somebody who has a bias or, they just are jealous. And those are some real world factors a lot of people don't really talk about. So I'm going to frame this conversation from a perspective that I know personally. So let's say you have a small business and you're doing your own outbound marketing. You're reaching out to strangers because the truth is strangers pay your bills. Strangers will actually pay your bills faster than friends will, right? But strangers can also become friends too. So you do your outbound marketing. You do some split tests. You spend thousands of shekels out of pocket, obviously because it's your enterprise. And then you deal with this condescension, this good luck sentiment from a lot of people. They're being sincere, but then they're also being dismissive. Like, I won't even consider reading your signage or going to your website. I can't even bother because they already have their bias. And that's fine. We live in a free country and people they have the right to their opinions. We also have to consider that we are on day 19 of the government shutdown in the United States. And hundreds of thousands of federal employees are on furlough right now, which means that they are unable to pay their bills since they're not getting paid. That's 2 weeks. That's a typical pay term. So then a lot of people are understandably saving. They're being more frugal. They are looking for alternatives and just hunkering down, especially considering a lot of people have families. They are over leveraged with the mortgage, car notes, and whatnot. So you have to be understanding, especially if you are a small vendor. You can't force people to buy if they can't, even if you have a really affordable option. And then again, you have all these coaches who are pushing these predatory programs and just extracting whatever they can from the middle class. And that's been the past 10 years. If you want to go further, there have always been those coaches. But then there's the complaint about younger people who are not being productive or creating anything. Meanwhile, domestic work has been outsourced for decades, so what can you do, right? So, for those of you who put in effort, and let's say you answer posts on LinkedIn or Indeed, and you see there's some sales positions, this is actually becoming very prevalent, where you work commission-only positions for certain companies, and then after they've neglected to pay commissions out to a number of their reps, they'll file Chapter 10 bankruptcy. And so what that does is that dissolves them of any liability from paying out to collectors. This has happened to me. It's happened to a number of my friends. It's really predatory. And there are no checks and balances right now in the system. And so you have hardworking people who are forced to leverage their resources instead of the company comping them and covering these expenses. So then they go out 10 grand and then they just get dismissed and discarded like they were nothing. And so what does that do for the young labor force? Where you're disincentivized from moving forward because you're always going to get take a few steps back. And again, I'm speaking from an anecdotal perspective. Sure, a lot of people may have been grandfathered into companies, and there is nepotism. That's a huge factor. And I guess that's always been the case. But when domestic labor was enforced and unions were strong in the United States, and there were some incentives for companies to adhere to the rules. But now it's a Wild West, and people are forced to fend for themselves, and attorneys refuse to litigate. They just write demand letters, and if the entities refuse to issue a mediation or settle with a mediation, they just drop the case. And you guys have no idea, unless you're actually going through it, how frustrating this can be. And then there's a generalization, millennials and Gen Z, or millennials and Gen X, they don't want to do anything. And then companies refuse to hire domestically, and they outsource labor to virtual assistants. Meanwhile, they've sold out the domestic workforce. So is that ethical or is that hypocritical? Pennies on the dollar. Meanwhile, the average person doesn't have the discretional spending they used to support small businesses or to go out. I mean, if you look at the movie industry, a lot of people complain about, woke Hollywood, or they're going to boycott Hollywood, but they don't consider the tens of thousands of jobs that Hollywood has actually been supplying to the economy. Meanwhile, you have these crypto scam bros and these motivational coaches who are multi-generationally affluent, and they're just extracting from the middle class, pushing false hope. No one calls them out. They're gaslit into silence. And this could be even in the political spectrum. A lot of people are gaslit into silence and complacency. And then what's the reward? There is no reward. So, more and more people are thrust into entrepreneurship out of necessity. Then you have so many different companies, so the average consumer has analysis paralysis. Which vendor am I going to choose? And for those of you who've tried to convert friends, that's a very difficult sell. Speaking from a lot of experience, strangers are who buy your product. You evangelize strangers, and you build a following. And then, with confirmation bias, that following accepts you as an authority in your space, and they buy from you. And then after you've been affirmed as the best option, then your friends will come back a year or two later and say, wow, you were the best option. Yet they did not support you in the beginning of the development. This is a Golden Nugget episode, guys. And it's my podcast. You guys know that the Golden Nugget is more of a free-form opinion piece. So if this resonates with any of you guys who are actually busting your asses and making something happen, please give it a like, comment, and share it around. Especially those of you who are starting out, who don't have, that backing, corporate backing, multi-generational backing. And a lot of you guys are just bootstrapping. You're working a part-time job, and you reinvest back into your business. That's the real America, guys, not the sellouts. not those who are outsourcing or domestic labor. They don't give a shit about you. You guys don't respond to reason, but you respond to anger. So there you go. A disgruntled, pissed off American who is trying to build something here, and the rug's been pulled out from under him. So what do you do? What do we do? What do we do? We bust our asses, and we have to keep learning. We have to be autodidactic. That's how we survive nowadays. Autodidactic, constantly learning, upskilling. That's the only option we have. And then, when we apply for work, we get ridiculed. Oh, you had this stuff. Yes, I worked in a lot of pre-seed startups. A lot of things happened. I wasn't corporate backed. So, a lot of people don't get that reality, especially if they were grandfathered into companies or, nepotism. Which, I mean, we should continue networking because that's the only way we'll get ahead. Is our network, is our net worth. And if you try and do something on your own, people will just brush you off. Because humans need that confirmation bias. Otherwise, you're just another peddler. And I don't trust peddlers, do you? Speaking from their perspective. So as a peddler, and I am a peddler, I'll be honest. What do peddlers do? We have to keep upskilling, and we have to create enough value in the marketplace for us to be accepted. Or we fade into obscurity. And then whatever safety nets we had, they get dispelled. They fall apart. So if you're going through that process, I salute you. I appreciate you guys. Keep fighting. That's what America needs. Innovation is what makes us great. And these constraints necessitate innovation. Otherwise, we get nothing. So it's your choice, guys. You want to concede and give up? Or you want to keep networking, doing what you can, bust your ass, upskill, network, split test, take a couple losses, build calluses, and say, hey, I'm not going to give up. And use a mantra similar to mine. We stake our claim, we take what's ours, we'll have what we deserve. Because yes, we all get down. Life is unfair. There are forces that be. It is what it is. It's transparent. So then you can't be reliant on old paradigms. Because I have a lot of friends who, they got their masters and they can't get work, And a lot of people, we started off with our core competencies and we're working in different fields. And then sometimes in those fields, if you're smart or if you're ambitious, you reinvest your capital back into your dream and make it happen. Now, it's not a smooth ride, and you can expect a lot of losses. And I've lost a lot. I've gained a lot too, And if you're in a position where you're a bachelor, you don't have a family, that's the best time to do it. Because then you can be selfish and you can say, yes, I'm going to take this time to be a monk. I'm going to invest in my business. I'm going to hyper focus. Because if you have children, you should, focus on them and your relationship and giving them a stable environment to grow up.
And now I understand what.
But if you're a bachelor who's building something, commit to that. Don't be a selfish prick, at least with a family. Build it, and then you have the flexibility. So those of you who this resonates with, thanks for tuning in. And keep fighting, guys. Times are tough across the planet. But you know what? We don't quit, because quitters go extinct. And fuck that. Peace.